Hi, my friend, good morning, and welcome to yet another episode of Tidbits of Tasty Tuesdays. Last Tuesday was Valentine's Day, and I don't know how you spent yours, but I had a wonderful day. However, today I want us to look at something that might have come along your way when you are celebrating your Valentine's Day, and that is debts. I don't know how that word goes down into your system. But in mine, it's a reality. It is something that I go through, or something that I've experienced, something that has brought me down, something that has forced me to think and rethink my strategies every now and then. And currently, I'm actually addressing this situation because not only am I in a situation where I am in debt, but other people also owe me. So after having spoken to quite a number of people, I'm realizing that this is actually something that we need to talk about. Debts. And maybe I should start by asking this question. Are all debts good debts? Should we bother to pay any debt? Should we ignore? Now, from this conversation that we're going to have, I want you to answer these questions yourself. But in my opinion, I'll tell you this. It is very important for you to pay up a debt. I remember my first business went down and I had quite a number of debts. I remember being out of business for 9 good months, and after the 9 months I was up again, running the same under the same name, but a different kind of having set up a different kind of a business, close to what I had, but with a lot of added advantages, because I had learned my lesson. Why am I talking of good and bad debts, or why am I asking whether all debts are good? Because I've heard quite a number of people talk about good debts and bad debts. What are good debts? In my opinion, good debts are the debts that we incur in the process of attaining assets that will command an income into our business or into our lives. For example, if you actually took a loan so as to buy a house that you're going to rent out, so that now every maybe end of a month you're able to receive an income, that would be a very good thing to do. However, remember, that debt still has to be paid. Now, think of this debt as a breathing system. Think of this debt as the way you breathe. Now, you breathe in oxygen, so which means you're subtracting oxygen from the atmosphere or from the environment around you. This oxygen that you breathe, we are taking it that this is the debt. So you're borrowing oxygen from the environment and bringing it into your system. And when it gets to your system, it's a good thing. Yeah, got oxygen. That's what your cells will be celebrating about. However, after this oxygen goes through your body, the body needs to release something, and that is carbon dioxide. Look, your body may be thinking carbon dioxide is a bad thing, and that's how we feel when we're paying debts. We feel the pain, we feel the pinch, we almost feel broke. But when we release the carbon dioxide, it returns into the environment and it is helpful to the plants. Remember, during the day, the plants will actually absorb that carbon dioxide for them to process their own food. You see, when you pay your debt from your body, which is the carbon dioxide that you're going to release, it goes to the plants, and they're going like, yeah, we got some air now. And that's how the banks or whoever it is that you owe will be feeling when you pay back. So, see, paying off debt is not such a bad thing. Now you've released the carbon dioxide, the plants are happy, and there's a whole cycle, and the plants will in return release oxygen again, and when they release oxygen, you breathe it in again, and everybody is happy. You're happy, the plant is happy, the environment is rejoicing, because there is quite good circulation of air. And that's how debts ought to be. When you borrow debt, remember to pay. Complete the cycle. Now, good debts encourage the circulation of money in the system. Now, if we are to pay our debts, if we pay our debts and pay them in time, it means that other people are going to be able to benefit from this. Not all the time that we have debts that we return the money to the bank, because we don't always borrow from a bank. At times, we ask people to do certain jobs for us or to offer us a certain service, and then we are supposed to pay them back. Remember, if you're not getting paid at that point, then later on it will look like a debt. It's actually a debt. And that's where the bad debt word comes in, where you realize that the circulation of money is not happening as it should be. Now, so what are bad debts? I wouldn't really want you to look at them as a bad thing. They're only bad when you don't complete the circulation. For example, when you ask someone to offer you a certain service and you're supposed to pay, it may not necessarily benefit you at that moment. For example, you may have asked someone to give you their car, and you will drive from one place to another and then come back, and maybe you're supposed to pay back. You're supposed to give them a certain amount of money because you used their car. It's a good thing because it helped you. However, it did not put money into your pocket directly. So in that case, it feels like a bad thing, because by the time you're paying, you're like, I didn't really benefit from that. But let's be sensible. You actually benefited. It didn't put money into your pocket, but you actually benefited. Now, let's ask ourselves this question. If we really have these good debts, and these are the kind of debts that I'm right now very shy of calling them bad debts, but these other kind of debts, they don't command an income into your pocket. Do we really have to pay back? Yes. We actually need to pay back even those debts that do not put money into our pockets. Why? Because when you borrowed, you actually asked someone, you actually inconvenienced someone. They went out of their way to bring something into your pocket. And this is how we should do this. We should actually make sure that we give back that which we have borrowed. It could be maybe simply that we're borrowing the money, or we're asking for a service, and when this service is offered, the person that offered the service will be counting on you to pay back. Why? Because maybe it's their own way of earning a living. Should we pay? Yes. Why? Because that's their way of earning a living. We asked for a service. When we get the service of whatever it is that we have gotten from this people, if there was an agreement to pay back, please pay back. Now, where I'm standing right now, I'm at a point where I actually borrowed some money at one point to pay my school fees. It did not put income back or some money into my pocket, but it allowed me to have knowledge. It allowed me to go through classes, which is a good thing. So there's nothing to complain there, really. Even if I was to buy a house or borrow money from a bank to buy a house where I live in, there is something positive about it, which is why I need to pay back. Now, effects of debts on whether it's a small business or whatever kind of a business or your own life is that it will increase your working equipment. For example, if you go to a shop and maybe you ask to pick up a printer or a computer that you use in your house or in your office, it will increase the equipment that you have in your business, even at home, which is a good thing. The other thing is that the presence of this debt, which you have incurred, will unlock cash flow temporarily. Because imagine that you needed this laptop which you've borrowed from, or you've gone and picked from a certain shop that allows you to pick it on credit. It has allowed you to do other things using this laptop without having paid in full, and you wouldn't have been able to do that if you didn't go and pick it up, which is a good thing still. However, it may give you a bad name. So other than the two advantages, it will definitely end up giving you a bad name if you don't pay in time, if you have to be called every now and then. And it is because of this that I'm concerned about putting a second part of this talk of Tidbits of Tasty Tuesdays on repayment of debts as the plan to pay back your debts or debt repayment. Why? Because I'm noticing a lot of people are stuck up. They're stuck with situations of debt and they're wondering, how do I get in here? I mean, how do I get out of it? It's already February and you're wondering, I've had debts since December and I'm here and we're going further. And guess what? Because you've had a bad name because of not paying your debts, right now you try and borrow someone else and guess what? The news have reached the other person. So we need to avoid this bad name thing. Let's not be fooled by people who tell us that, oh yeah, debts, you don't need to pay your debts. Oh yes, you do. Because when you be in need, the same people that you borrowed from will need you. You will need them. And because you need them, unfortunately, they may have spoken to someone who might want to be of help to you, but because they know you're not a reliable payer, now they will not loan you anymore. So in the next part, I will be talking about how to pay back the debt. And I'll give you a process that I've used that has worked for me. How I made the plan, how I committed to the plan, and how I kept my relationships. For now, please join me in the next episode of Tidbits of Tasty Tuesdays, which is coming up in 2 minutes. For now, bye.